Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura, yoshimura-rd.com. Check them out for all your exhaust needs for your dirt bike, your ATV, your street bike. Got Yoshimura exhaust off the back of the Amsoil Honda that we'll be talking about in this episode, as I, Jason Weigandt, give you what you need to know following this year's Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship at Loretta Lynn's, presented by Lucas Oil. Yep, going to review the amateur side, but really in the side of it that you care about, which is who's turning pro, who's looking good, how's this all going to turn out in the future in Supercross and Motocross. That's what the amateurs are all about. It's really just scouting for the future. We're not trophy hunting here at Loretta's. They're just trying to prove who's got the stuff to take it to the next level. As for Yoshimura, they've got next-level things for a variety of bikes. We mentioned it the last few weeks here. Honda with some new play bikes, the CRF 110F, the CRF 125F, and now Yoshimura has some awesome new exhaust systems for those bikes. So go to yoshimura-rd.com. Also have a redesigned exhaust for Suzuki's old Supermoto DRZ 400-based bike. Suzuki made a few changes. Yoshimura now has a new exhaust system to match up to that machine. Suzuki and Yoshimura, they go way, way back. Speaking of Suzuki, by the way, wow, big improvement, signs of life for Suzuki on the amateur level. The Bar X Suzuki team, Myron Short and Larry Brooks at the controls there, relatively new team. Wasn't making much of an impact the first few years, but this year, Suzuki, genuine players in some mini classes, some B classes, maybe soon, next year, A, maybe feeding some riders into the pros within the next few years. I was really impressed. The Suzukis were up front. They didn't get all the titles that they were in contention for, but the fact that there were multiple podiums and some moto wins for a couple of riders, Dylan Schwartz, Preston Kilroy, Austin Black, it was really impressive to see them right up there. And I'll tell you what actually mattered most to Suzuki. They get a moto win in the 250B limited class. Now, limited means you can do a few changes to the bike, like controls, levers, foot pegs, bars. I think you can have your suspension valved, but the engines are stock. So that meant a lot for Suzuki to get an RMZ 250, a class win in a stock 250 class, because they're trying to prove that that bike can run and has horsepower. So there's some more proof right there. And you notice Alex Martin, things are getting better on the JGR side second half of this summer. So signs of life for Suzuki. Oh, yeah, they got Yoshimura exhaust on the factory bikes, too. So check that out, yoshimura-rd.com. Racer X, we have a new magazine out. I wrote a story about the Triathlon, which are 3 really rugged races in the middle of the season, going to WW Ranch, Southwick, and Redbud all in a row. I talked to a bunch of trainers and riders to figure out what was going on behind the scenes, why it hurt some riders more than others. So that's exclusive to the magazine. Everything in the magazine you cannot read anywhere on social media or on the web. And we've still got our 99-cent promo going. You can get 3 issues, print and digital. Go to racerxonline.com/99CENTS. But wait, there's more. I got even more cool stuff. We have the Racer X Flyaway sweepstakes going right now. The new movie, Bennett's War, which is a movie based around motocross. I think this one is actually good, unlike some of the other ones that have been terrible, except Winners Take All, which is the greatest movie ever. So we're going to fly you and 3 friends a motocross-themed Southern California trip, which includes the red carpet premiere for Bennett's War, but also a ride day at Milestone MX in California, a tour of Southern California's iconic motocross destinations, and yes, a flight and hotel accommodations. Enter now, subscribe and win, but this closes on August 8th, so you only have until Thursday to enter. The premiere is August 13th in Los Angeles, so we got to get you out there quick. Go to racerxonline.com/sweepstakes and enter, but do it now because time's running out. Also, this podcast brought to you by AirMedCare Network. What if you're hospitalized with an injury far from home? Well, you'd want to recover close to family and friends, and with an AirMedCare Network Fly You Home membership, you'll have control over where you're treated. You'll be transported to your local hospital of choice with no out-of-pocket cost, and you can save $10 with the offer code 10MOTO. That's 10MOTO. Go visit AirMedCareNetwork.com/RacerX offer 1. That essentially allows you, let's say you're at a race 10 hours from home and you get injured and you need to be in the hospital or have surgery. You can get flown back to your home hospital so your spouse or your parents or whatever can be there each day. They don't have to live on the road with you during the recovery at the hospital where the track is. Okay, let's talk racing at Loretta's. Also, we will talk to Jalek Swoll and Jett Lawrence. I interviewed them at closing ceremonies, so you'll hear from them. But a lot to unpack from this one, and the thing most fans want to know first about is the upper-level classes and who's graduating for this year. Well, it's stacked, really, and I try not to overuse the term stacked or best ever, but I have an actual reason for it. We used to run 3 to 4 A classes at this event. You'd have A classes for riders who had raced a couple pro races and A classes for riders who had not, and it kind of split the talent. They called one set of classes A and another set of classes A Pro Sport. So you were dividing 2 different bike displacements, then 2 different groups. There were essentially 4 A classes. So some of the A riders could kind of run and hide. They could win A class titles without having to beat the fastest riders. Not the case anymore. Now there's just 2 classes for A-level riders, 250 Pro Sport, 450 Pro Sport. If you're an A rider, whether you raced a few nationals or not, it doesn't matter. You're all in the same class. So that led to an incredibly deep field, especially because, as you well know, almost every manufacturer now has a factory arm which races in the amateur ranks. We were scheduled to have 5 graduates out of this race at Loretta's. Now, one, Pierce Brown, is not going to race Unadilla. We saw him real quick. He tried one race at WW Ranch. He hurt his shoulder right after it. He rushed. He tried to get ready for Loretta's in about 5 weeks. He was actually pretty good. Pierce still finished on the podium in a moto, but he wasn't 100%, and then he crashed again and called it for the rest of the week, and then I heard he won't race Unadilla, so scratch Pierce Brown. But we will still have 4 other riders going from Loretta's to Unadilla on factory teams, Jalek Swoll, and then who's Rockstar Husky, and then 3 AMSOIL Honda riders. Joe Shimoda is turning full pro. He's going from the AMSOIL Honda amateur team to the Geico Honda pro team, starting at Unadilla. He'll race Supercross next year. He'll race for the pro team next year outdoors. 2 other amateurs from that team, Jett Lawrence and Carson Mumford, are going to show up at Unadilla. They're going to race their amateur bikes. They're going to pit next door or under the tent with the pro team. They're just going to see how they do. The way the rules are now, you can race a couple pro races and maintain your amateur status, so it gives them a chance to see how it's going to go. Now, I think Mumford, they're expecting to need another year in the amateur ranks, so this is just purely a way to gain some experience. Jett Lawrence is supposed to stay amateur another year, but he was so darn good at Loretta's. Who knows, man? The sky's the limit for this guy. So I want to start with the Jett Lawrence story. Look, I had not seen him race or ride until Loretta's. That doesn't mean that much. I'm not an amateur scouting talent expert, so the fact that I had not seen him ride before doesn't really mean much until I actually did see him ride. I cannot believe the skills, the talent, the style of Jett Lawrence. I was blown away. He's fast, and he looks like he's riding at 80% when he's going that fast. He's going as fast as anyone else there. A lot of big-time, established amateur players. He was as good, if not better than all of them, and he looked like he was on cruise control. Now, I know when a rider's smooth and in control, they start throwing out the, he rides like Kevin Windham thing that gets thrown around a lot. But that doesn't necessarily mean they have Kevin Windham's actual style or body position on the motorcycle. It just means they don't look like they're going as fast as they're going. That's a generic term. But I can tell you, when it comes to Jett Lawrence, he actually does look like Kevin Windham on the bike. The way he's able to control the bike through his feet and his ankles and his legs, I haven't seen that kind of thing since Windham, and it gives you such an advantage. He's so technically sound riding the bike with his lower body that it almost doesn't matter what he does. You know, Windham, for as great a riding style as he had, if he really looked at it, he'd drop the elbows sometimes. It didn't matter. He was controlling the bike so well with his lower body. It really helped, especially on those slippery tracks where Windham was really good, because he could make that bike get traction and make everything else easier on himself because he could control the bike, I feel, with his legs so well. Yes, he had throttle control and other things. But look, if you're going to get compared to someone as a talent, Kevin Windham's a pretty good one to be compared to. I know Windham doesn't have the most races ever, but you could easily say he's right up there with anyone as far as talent or skill. And that's where Jett Lawrence is. The riding style was impressive. He looked like he was on cruise control when he was going as fast as everyone else. Now, as always, when you talk to riders like Windham or Jett Lawrence himself, he actually does say he feels like he was riding on the edge. But he just looks like he has so much potential. His ceiling is so high. He knew nothing about this race. He had never raced Loretta's before. He's going against riders who know the drill. They understand how the track's going to develop, all the things that come with racing there, that you practice one day on Monday, and then you do not get any more practice for the rest of the week. So much unique to this event, and it didn't matter. Jett Lawrence won the very first moto he was in. Now, he should have won the 250 championship in Pro Sport with 1-2-1 scores. He should have. Had he done that, he would have been the easy Horizon Award winner. His worst moto beyond that was a third. He was the best rider overall, but the problem was his bike broke in that third moto of 250 Pro Sport while he was leading. That cost him the title. It's very difficult, I think, for the AMA to justify giving the Nicky Hayden Horizon Award to a rider that didn't even win a championship. So they couldn't give it to Jett Lawrence. It wouldn't have made any sense. But I think if you quizzed people that watched and said who was the best rider or who was the most impressive rider, you'd have to say it was Jett Lawrence. And by the way, I could not believe this. After the race, he revealed to me that he is 15 years old. He's 15. He's younger than some of the super mini riders. Luckily for him, he turns 16 tomorrow, Wednesday, August 7th, so he'll be eligible to race Unadilla. The sky is absolutely the limit on Jett Lawrence. And by the way, this kid's personality is unreal. Like he'll say anything about anybody. He's totally that unfiltered Australian. He is hilarious. Talking to some people, they say he never gets nervous about anything, and maybe that gave him an advantage at Loretta's, a race known for purposely putting pressure on riders. Part of the process there is to say it's 1 week race for all the marbles, which puts pressure on people, and it's designed that way because you want to put pressure on riders and to see how they react under pressure. It does not affect him. He's the classic Australian, couldn't care less about any of that. So my mind was blown with Jett Lawrence in a way that it rarely is with most riders. So here's a quick interview with Jett Lawrence right now. I don't know if this is good or bad. You're like the first guy that didn't win a title that was surely thought of as maybe he could still win the Horizon Award. I don't know if you even know how that works, but it was in consideration.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused on that. All my friends and that stuff, and yeah, they were saying that I should win it and that stuff, but I wasn't 100% sure about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a little bit bummed because that was probably one trophies that I would get. That was probably first, but
yeah.
Hey, it's just a trophy. It's pretty cool. It's like, oh yeah, I won this, but also it's just an amateur event. I'll probably get a lot more big bucks doing the nationals than this little race. So yeah, I'm a little bit bummed, but it is what it is. I can't change it. So yeah.
Did you expect to do this well here? I mean, you won your very first moto. I know you're a good rider, but usually it takes a while to figure Loretta's out. You figured it out immediately. Did that surprise you?
Yeah. My dad was telling me at the at the end of the week, he said he thought I was going to be around 5th or 4th the whole thing. So when I went out and won that bike, like if I was thinking, I knew I had the potential to win it.
Yes.
But to win it with a gap, I was like, okay, this is how we're going to start it off. So
right.
I was like, well, at least I just got to keep the ball rolling, and I was able to go out. Got fairly close to definitely close to the 450 open win. Yeah. But yeah, then I just need next few motos, I went and pounded out, helped in the second 251, I helped out my buddy Joe with points. I knew he had a bit of a rough first one, so okay. I just helped him with some points. I know it would help him a lot, and hopefully get more Hondas onto the podium, which will be good for Honda, Amsoil Honda, and that stuff. But then third moto of 250 was going super well. I got the best start of the whole week that I've done. Feeling comfortable. I know Joe crashed. I knew Pierce ended up crashing. Swoll didn't even race. I don't know why. Low fitness. But so I had quite an easy race. But yeah, unlucky bike malfunction. But it is what it is. I can't change it now. It just, as I said, it's just a little amateur event. So I'm a little bit bummed at that because I had an easy title in my hands.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's just a title. So, and I went to go do the same for the 450 because I knew I had a chance with that, and my bike was fixed, and didn't start off the way I planned. I got a very good jump, but I just rushed stuff on the start a little bit too much, got off balance a little bit, had to clutch it down the start straight, a little bit like a goon. Didn't sound the best, but I was able to come through a bit. I got behind my teammate Joe, and made a little bit of a stupid mistake on my behalf. Just came in, again trying to rush, trying to get up there as fast as I can, because I knew he got the whole shot and was out there. So I was like trying to get the lap times down. But stupid little mistake. So I ended up going back, and then Waka Flocka was behind me, so he had to go at me. But luckily I was able to pull my finger out and actually go. I was able to catch up to my sushi teammate, and but I got second overall for the championships. Not too bad for my first year. I'm pretty sure not many other guys have done that for their first year in A, so I'm happy with that. I know my riding's better. It's a lot better now, and I've been training out in Florida with RJ Hamshaw, my brother Hunter Lawrence, Cullen Park, our mate Mexico, and with Dean Wilson also.
All right.
And I've improved a lot, so I got to take a shout out to them to help me. But I'm just ready for Unadilla. I'm gonna go there with trying to get on the podium.
Okay.
But I can't say what I can do. I was coming here to thinking I was going to get a fifth place first moto, so
right.
I can't say what I get now. I just have to see what comes to me, and if I get a good start, I get a good start. If I don't, I don't. I just have to ride 100%. I might not even qualify. I'm not sure, but
right.
Hey, I just got to go do 100% and just ride my heart out.
In other amateur races you've done, have you this the level you've been, or have you been improving, or have you felt this good at most of the other times you've raced these same guys?
No, obviously at the start of the year I was still learning the bike, still testing.
Yeah.
So I was starting to get still trying to get familiar with my bike, and then I did a test day with Ziggy, and he did set up the bike.
Right.
I haven't changed it since then.
Okay.
That's how good it is. And just from there I hit a little bit of a wall. Like a little bit halfway through the year before here, I wasn't progressing as fast as I was at the start.
Yeah.
But I was able to get through that wall, and just before here, I started to get bit by bit, and just obviously had RJ and those top guys to chase, so I could I was able to hook onto them and that stuff. But obviously from the start of the year to now, I've improved a lot. I think I've taken a big step since in my career and my level of riding, so I'm very happy with this where I'm at. I want to obviously improve more. I can't stop now, so I'm obviously next week going to go back, train, not do anything stupid, stay healthy, and just don't stop, just train and try and be the fastest 250 rider, and eventually 450. Hopefully, I'm not going to say I will, but I'm definitely going to go for it.
What's your ambitions? Do you know what you're doing next year? Are you racing? Are you pro for good? Or you can come back here the way the rules are. Do you have any clue?
I know if I want to go pro, because the amateurs for me are just not for me, basically.
Yeah.
The shorter motos, the tighter tracks, not as rough. But I think I want to go pro next year at Hangtown, maybe even earlier. It depends how my Supercross winter is. If
have you done much?
No.
Oh, okay. So that's a big one.
I'm definitely going to be training. I'll probably train with. I got my buddy Josh Hansen. We so I'm buddies with him. He said said he would help me with that, so I'm very grateful of him, like another dad kind of thing. And I'm definitely just going to see how it goes. Obviously, just try and get through the winters the healthiest I can. If I'm ready, I'm ready. Then I'll try and go for East Coast. If I'm not, I'm not. I'll go at Hangtown. I'll just finish early and get a little bit of a head on outdoors. So yeah.
Okay, your brother's out, I guess, for these final nationals, so you're not going to get to bang bars with your bro?
I think he might be coming back for the last two because he got it plated.
Oh, we might see this.
Yeah, but I think it won't be as good because he's probably going to be getting pain still.
Yeah.
It's still fairly fresh. But I'm obviously going to give it to him because I don't want to take no crap from him. You know, big brother always saying he's the best and that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to be closer in speed. And if I ever do pass him, I'm probably going to scrub the next jump and look at him and smile. I'll probably have the biggest grin and like pumped. But yeah, obviously he's injured, so it's probably not going to be 100% fair. I have a little bit of advantage, so I'm fully healthy. He's not.
Take it.
But I'm still going to take it, that's for sure, yeah.
When you're in Europe or even in Australia, is this race like on your radar? Like, oh, I'd like to do this? Or are you only thinking Super and pro motocross?
I obviously heard of this.
Yeah.
But I'm mainly like, because obviously the team said like, oh, I have to do amateurs because I'm too young.
Yeah.
And that stuff, yeah, I'm only 15 still, so...
When you turn 16?
I turn 16 next week on Wednesday, actually, so...
You are... Seriously? So your birthday is 3 days before the race?
Yeah, so basically we have all the papers like filled out and that stuff, so Wednesday we have to send the papers out so we can get signed and sign up for that stuff, so...
Wow!
Yeah, so that's why we couldn't do any of the earlier ones, because I want to do more of the standing on like Southwick, Red Bud, the more...
You like that?
Yeah, more my style.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's pretty close, but yeah, we're hoping to kind of sign up a little bit early, but because of that we have to wait till I'm 16 then to sign up.
Yeah, I get it.
So but yeah, like I said, I'm only 15 still. I turn 16 next week, so it won't be much of a difference. I'll just be a little bit older. Might grow a few hairs on the top lip, I don't know, maybe on the armpits, not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, just gonna see how it goes.
My last thing is, where does speaking of style, dude, that's what's impressive to me, not just that you won immediately. You have one of those that doesn't look like you're going as fast as you're going styles. Do you realize that? Did you work on that? Does it confuse you when people say that because you're like, dude, I'm pinning it? What runs through your mind?
Definitely. I'm going hard out as I can, obviously, but I also have to, like, I can go out there and try and look as fast as I can and be sketchy as, like, getting that thing going sideways into a turn, which is not so fast. Like, that's one thing with this track. You have to be smooth. I may look slow, but I'm pretty sure if you get a stopwatch out, it's
well, that's what I'm saying.
It's
one of those where someone could look faster than you, but you're beating them because you're so smooth or calculated. It's awesome to watch, actually. Did you develop that on purpose, or is that just the way you ride?
Thank you, but no, I just get it from my brother. My brother's exactly the same. Mm-hmm. Like, he looks slow. Like, I even say some days, man, you're looking slow. Then I ask Dad, what's the lap times? I'm like, oh, okay. Got to step it up.
Do they say that to you? Do they say that to you?
Nah.
Okay,
he just says I'm slow, full stop. I don't get, oh, you're actually looking kind of fast today. I just get, you're just slow.
All right.
I didn't get much. I just said, I may have the looks of the family, but I'm just like the slower one. That's what he says.
This is incredible.
Yeah. I'm the mailman's son, basically. That's what they say. I always say, at least
we don't know where you came from.
No.
You might not even be related.
Probably not. Hopefully. I mean, I'm kidding. Nah.
That's awesome.
Dude, is that kid not hilarious? I don't even know what to say. So, yes, Jett Lawrence, by the way, he's Hunter's younger brother. He will turn 16 on August the 7th and race Unadilla on his amateur bike. Who the heck knows how this is going to go? The other rider to talk about in the A classes is Jalek Swoll. Now, Swoll and Pierce Brown, they were kind of the perfect matchup in the amateurs. Pierce Brown has crazy speed, like crazy speed, but he also has crazy crashes. Swoll, maybe not as spectacular, dare I say not as fast, but you got to be careful. Amateur racing, people are very sensitive. I don't want to say that. But he's super consistent. So Swoll and Brown have been fun to watch through the years. Brown with the unbelievable highlights, and Swoll with the actual results, because Brown usually bad starts or crashes, not as consistent. So I really thought it'd be between these two this year. I didn't expect Jett Lawrence to show up and do this. And as far as Brown was concerned, he was hurt. So Swoll, super consistent. Then he has his own problems where he hurts his groin in a moto. He started up front, was leading, and then started going backwards. He had another moto where he was leading, and he crashed, and that completely fell apart. But he was able to keep it together in his other class. Now, we didn't even know if he'd raced the last moto of the week because of the groin injury. But he got out there, he dug deep, he did it, he got the early lead. Lawrence and Yoshimura were coming for him. He hung on, he won the title. I'll give you a couple things to know about Swoll. Like I said, I don't know if you're going to see the unbelievable flash here in his pro debut this weekend, because I don't think that's his deal. He's on the perfect team for him. There is not a team that plays the long game and the loyalty game better than Bobby Hewitt and the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna squad. The ultimate example is Jason Anderson, who was horrible when he first turned pro, so bad that they sent him home and said, stop racing until you're ready. And we all know how it turned out for Jason Anderson. We tell that story a lot, but I do it for a reason. It's to show Bobby Hewitt has loyalty to his guys. And as you heard in the podcast a few weeks ago with Jordan Bailey here, Bobby says it takes 3 years to figure out the pros. I guarantee you within the 3 years, Swoll is going to be very, very good. I don't know if he'll be great at Unadilla. I don't know if he'll be great in Supercross next year, but he's going to figure it out. He's super solid. He rarely gets hurt. He doesn't make many of the rookie mistakes. He also has Tim Ferry on his side. Tim has been his trainer and coach for a while, so that's a lot of knowledge there. Now, Swoll got a little heat at Loretta's because he did win the Horizon Award, so Lawrence really could not win it. The other rider that won an A-class was Hardy Munoz, but Munoz didn't win any motos. He was very tough. He really hung in there. He fought for every position, and in the end that paid off when Lawrence's bike broke and Swoll had his problems and Brown crashed out. Munoz was there to pick up the title. But in the other class, hey, Lawrence didn't have a bike problem. He and Swoll battled to the death in one moto. Swoll won by 0.006 seconds. Swoll ended up winning the title in a different class against Jett Lawrence, so it made him the easier pick for the Horizon Award. So Swoll wins the Horizon Award, and all the great graduates of all time have won this thing, and they give him the award on stage, and he says, yeah, I'm not really into awards, so it's whatever. Now look, not a lot of people know these amateur riders. Maybe they've heard their names, but they haven't seen many interviews with them. They haven't watched many interviews. They haven't been on the podium in Supercross yet. That's where you really flush out your personality. So that was not a good look for Swoll. There was a lot of people saying, what was up with that? Good luck with that. That's a terrible attitude. I will say when I talked to Swoll after, this interview you'll hear is about 10 minutes after he won that award, he was in much better spirits. I think sometimes you have to remember how young these dudes are. You're talking to teenagers who are not used to the spotlight. You're bringing them up on stage in front of an audience. Maybe they don't always say the right things at the right time. And as you've seen with a lot of teenagers, when you get a little uncomfortable, the first move is to try to act ultra cool. Give it the, yeah, whatever, dude, whatever, man, I'm cool, whatever. So I think that's what Jalek did there on stage. Afterwards, I said, do you really not care about the award? And he's saying, I don't know. And I said, if you didn't win the Horizon Award and one of these other guys did, let's say Jett Lawrence won it and Lawrence didn't even win a title, would you have been mad? And then he said, actually, yeah, when you put it that way. And then his spirits kind of raised. And then when you'll listen to this interview, he's not cocky. He's cool. He's fine, but not ultra cool. I think he's actually a good kid. We have to be very careful when you're judging, I don't know, I think Jalek's 18, an 18-year-old not used to having the spotlight on him, for not saying the perfect thing when he gets a microphone shoved in his face immediately. I think Swoll's going to be good, and I don't think he's as bad of an attitude as that on-stage appearance would make people think. So here's Jalek Swoll.
All right, my first question, Jalek, are we going to see you in Unadilla, or are you too banged up now? What's your status?
No, I'm going to Unadilla either way.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just gonna tough it out, kind of like try to do here. You know, I need the experience for next season. You know, I want next season to be not the learning curve. I want next season to be like just a big bang for me. You know, I want to come out. I want to be a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna shoot for that. So yeah.
Okay. And is it Supercross next year, like these last few nationals and then Supercross?
I'm not sure about the Supercross deal yet, but if everything goes as planned, I'll probably be East Coast.
Okay. You'd like to, though? You're into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this week, first of all, what did happen with that injury?
I think Moto 2 of the 250, I don't even know what name it was, 250A, whatever.
Right.
Just coming through, you know, I got the whole shot, good start, everything was looking good, and I come through the sand sweeper one lap, and it kicks out just a little bit sideways, and it was like an awkward squeeze, and I felt it like right away when I got the bike back straight, and I went back to the medical thing, and they took care of me back there. They said that it felt like a groin strain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just kind of did exactly what they told me to do. I rested, I put ice on it, stuff like that, and just saved myself for the moto that I had a good overall in. So, yeah.
That wasn't the moto where you fell while leading and the bike didn't fire and all that.
No.
Separate.
Yeah. That one was just all me. I think it was, I don't know what it was, because I'm usually pretty good, like on the mental side and nerves and stuff like that. But I don't know, just a bunch of bad luck, I guess I'd say. I mean, I don't want to say luck because you make your own luck, but
like
just
last
wrong
year you were
place, wrong
super
time.
consistent. Like you didn't have those mistakes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just super unlike me. So it was just it was kind of a wake up deal for me, actually. I thought it helped me more than it hurt me. You know, it's been a while since I've had stuff like that happen to me, so I think I needed it, especially before going into the pros, because I know I'm not going to go in just the top guy or anything like that. And I just need to be mentally prepared and focused to just put my head down in whatever place I am and go from there.
Okay, speaking of that, what was the prep and what was your mindset going into that last moto, a little bit hurt, and really needed to win it or do well at least?
Well, you know, actually, big surprise to me as well, like the whole team backed me. Nobody really cared, honestly. They just wanted me to have fun.
Okay.
It's my last dance here, you know, so they just wanted me to have fun and embrace it. You know, it's not too many people who can come out of Loretta's with wins, so you know, it's I'm very fortunate, and I told my girlfriend, like, I was content and happy with what I've done here, even if I did walk away with nothing. So I'm good, and I'm just ready for that next step.
But what about going into that moto? I mean, obviously you were digging deep. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
You got it. Yeah. So what was that like?
Honestly, it was pretty mentally draining, honestly, because you know, everything I did, it just felt like my groin just wasn't on my side.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird place to have a strain or anything like that, because all the squeezing comes from there. But it was painful, but you know, I wanted to put my head down and do the best I could, because the Rockstar Husky boys, you know, they put their heart out on the line for me. So I just wanted to do the same for them, and it worked out in my favor.
Did it actually feel a little sweeter, like when you came across the line, like, whoa, I just pulled this off?
Yeah, it actually felt like maybe one of my most important and best feeling wins, actually, because I never had to deal with injuries, really. And honestly, knock on wood, I've been pretty, you know, good in the injury part of it, and consistent and stuff like that. So this one felt great, honestly, better than any other one. So
just give me your background real quick. How'd you hook up with Husky and Timmy Ferry and all these people that you've been with for a long time? How did that all start?
Well, I actually started out with the Bells.
Really?
Yeah. Trained with Zach and Chase, and down there in Cairo, Georgia, right by MTF. And when I signed with Husky, you know, Bobby Hewitt, he saw potential in me from Super Minis, and it was actually crazy because the first moto Bobby seen me in was a moto just like my first one here, where I fell 3 times in one moto, and he still gave me the contract, and from there I knew those were the guys I wanted to stick with, and they had my back. So Bobby actually had the whole thing planned for me to go with Red Dog. Okay. So really thankful for that, because Red Dog has been a huge help to me. I honestly think that's where my mental side and just consistency comes from. And I've been getting a little bit more fiery being around him, and not shying away from rubbing or anything like that. Like I'm ready for it all, and I just got to thank Red Dog for all that.
Is he still your guy? Like coming into this,
still my guy. I'm gonna try to stay with Red Dog. If it isn't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah. Who do you ride with there? Who's his guys right now? Are there any pros with him at the moment?
Not with him, but we all train at Sandbox.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we basically do train with everybody. You know, AC, Sexton, Roxon, and a whole other bunch of guys. A whole bunch of other guys come through there. So it's we have good talent there, and it's good for me because I get to chase their lap time, stuff like that, and try to use it in my favor.
So that's Jalek Swoll. See, he didn't sound cocky. He was okay. He didn't give me the whatevers. He seemed interested. You should be interested in Yoshimura Exhaust. They are our title sponsor for this show. Check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. Honda's got an all-new line of 4-stroke trail bikes. They've got exhaust systems for those. They've got exhaust systems for every type of motocross bike you'd think about, yes, Suzuki and Honda run Yoshimura on their factory bikes, but there are Husqvarna and KTM and Kawasaki, Yamaha. They've got exhaust for everything. So check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. Now, let me talk about some other classes and some other riders. Now, let's talk about some other riders. Two of them were outstanding in the mini cycle ranks. It starts with Max Vohland. Usually at Loretta's, you get 2 or 3 riders a year that sweep all 3 motos in the 2 classes they're allowed to enter. That's a 6-moto sweep. This year, Maximus Vohland was the only rider to do it. So obviously that's impressive. And then the AMA gave him their Youth Rider of the Year award. Obviously, because he didn't lose any motos all week. Now, Max Vohland is a great rider. He's been good for a long time now. He is absolutely huge on that Super Mini, but he owned that bike, and he owned his class. I don't think when you watch Max Vohland ride, there's anything that necessarily leaps off the page, like, oh my God, this guy's the next Ken Roczen, James Stewart level super talent. He's just very, very good. But what I think his upside comes from is the heritage. And yes, I know there's other pro riders who have had fast kids before. But it's a little different, I feel, that Maximus is Talon Vohland's son. Talon isn't an ego guy. I've said this for years, long before Max was even on the radar as a racer. You would have never even known that Talon Vohland raced. He's never name-dropping. He's never saying, I did this, I battled this guy. I mean, if Talon Vohland wanted to, he could go on forever about how he used to battle Carmichael and Pastrana in the 125 Nationals. I mean, that's awesome credibility there, right? But you never hear him talk about this. I think he is very low-key, very cerebral, and I think the way that he and his brother Tyson, who's actually done a lot of the coaching for Max, I think they have a very long-term look at how they want to approach this. It's a lot different than they were just hammering motos all the time at a training facility deal. They make Maximus go and do races. He races his Super Mini at the REM races at Glen Helen against men on 450s, just so he can get an education. And yes, those men do not want to get passed by a dude in a Super Mini, and Maximus has told me that they'll try to take him out. I've heard some rumors they might even go race in Canada. They're going to do a lot of 125 All-Star races next year. I think it's a different education process because his uncle Tyson and his dad Talon are so educated themselves on all the different avenues of racing. I mean, these guys raced in Europe. They raced Mickey Thompson Ultracross, Supercross, Motocross, you name it, they've done it. And I think that is huge. And I also think it means they've had a more patient process with Maximus. I think you're going to see his best stuff when he's older as a pro. I think they've got him trained to peak at the right time. In fact, Talon kind of slowed his development. When he was a kid, he just had him stick with BMX and didn't really get him into motocross too young. He wanted to see if he could figure out things like lines and passing on the bicycle before they even got him on the dirt bike. So it's not just the results or the riding of Maximus that stands out. I think this plan, this strategy that his dad and his uncle have is going to go a long way too. So he is an absolutely intriguing prospect. And by the way, KTM could use it. KTM has done pretty much everything right in every type of racing they've been involved with over the last 6 or 7 years. But the one thing we've yet to see is KTM take a rider from the minis through the amateurs into the pros and have them win. It's been tough. Maybe Pierce Brown will be the guy. Maybe he'll be the guy that does it. But so far, they just haven't quite nailed it on the amateur side. Maybe Maximus Vohland will be the one to do it. But there are 2 other riders that were not there, I have to mention. Nate Thrasher was out with injury, and Jett Reynolds was out with injury. So that's going to mix up the deal whenever these guys get back. I mean, Jett Lawrence was an absolute machine. He was completely on pace with the Cianciarulo Alessi Stewart title run as an amateur, and now he's missed Loretta's 2 years in a row. So we'll see if he jumps back in there. He might just smoke everybody like he used to. Or maybe they've made gains. I don't know. Nate Thrasher was unbelievable last year. He missed the race this year. So that leads us to one other mini rider to talk about, and it's time. Yep, it's time. We have to discuss Hayden Danger Boy Deegan. Now, most of you on the outside are probably thinking, it's Brian Deegan's kid. Is he good? Is it marketing? I know they got vlogs and they got social media, and he did a backflip at age 10, and his sister is going to save NASCAR. Yeah, but that's just the surface stuff. I've always had huge respect for Brian Deegan, not because of the marketing or how much money the Metal Militia made. Whenever Brian Deegan gets involved with something, he gets actually good at it. Yeah, there's marketing. Yeah, there's hype. Yeah, there's fluff. But at his core, he's just really good at what he does. Brian Deegan was a very good motocross and supercross racer. I think he earned national number 25 as a privateer back in the days where you really earned national numbers. That's impressive. He won a supercross. You probably know that. He went into freestyle. He became as good at freestyle as anyone else was in his era. He moved to off-road trucks. He's as good at off-road trucks as anyone that he races against. He's right out there at the top. Every once in a while, X Games would throw out a rally car race. Brian Deegan would jump in a rally car. He'd be just as good as anyone else in a rally car. I don't know how the dude is able to learn all these things. He's kind of coached his daughter into the same thing here. I mean, she is absolutely on the rise. She is as good a prospect as any other prospect in NASCAR. I don't want to say she's the hottest prospect, but she's at least as good as any other top flight prospect. So now we talk about Danger Boy. I'm going to sell you on Danger Boy with two things. First, the class that he won this year. Out of all the classes at Loretta Lynn's, there is a long-standing history, if you really look. The 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 85cc range, that is the absolute heart of the order in the amateur ranks. Every other age, you never necessarily race the best riders all the time. When you're younger than that, some kids are small. They can stay in a 65 later. Some kids are big. They have to get on an 85 early. Then past 13, some kids are ready for a big bike. Some kids are not. They all drift their separate ways. But essentially, at age 12 to 13, you're always going to race an 85. And we don't have A, B, and C classes in 85s. When you race 85 at a 12 and 13-year-old, you're going against the best riders. You can't escape by getting on a big bike or staying on a 65. You're all against each other. And that's why the past champions in the old 85, 12 to 13 divisions at Loretta's are absolute all-time killers. I'm going to run down the names. Are you ready? I did some research on this. Listen. Starting in 1990, here are champions in this division. Kevin Windham, Robbie Reynard, Ricky Carmichael 2 years in a row, Nick Way, Justin Buckaloo and Nestor Fonseca, Brandon Jessamine, Ryan Marias, Josh Summey, okay. James Stewart again, Davey Millsaps, Jason Lawrence, Mike Alessi again, Josh Hill, Nico Izzy again, Justin Barsha 2 years in a row, 2005, 2006, Jason Anderson swept it in 2007, Joey Savacci 2008, Adam C. and Cerullo, 2009. Did you hear those names? It doesn't get any better than that. That's literally the most talented riders that have gone into the pro ranks over that period from 1990 through now. It got jacked up after AC in 2009. You can thank Honda for their 154 stroke. It scared the crap out of the industry. They started changing ages because they were worried about riders being too young or too old to be on 150s. I don't even remember. But they changed it to a 12 to 14 class at one point. Once you add that 14-year-old in there, it totally changes it because then some of the fastest kids, they might be too old for 85s. Then they move up. Maybe they become a super mini rider or a 125 rider. So then the champions start to get a little blurry. In 2010, it was Stephen Gretchen from McMetchen, West Virginia, and Chris Aldridge won in 2010. Blake Green and Austin Faulkner in 2011. That was pretty good. They got the ages back to a more reasonable range in 2014. Guess who won then? Garrett Marchbanks. All the top talents, dude, they win in this class. And that's what Hayden Deegan just did. Now, this year, the class is 10 to 12. It's not the classic 12 to 13 range, but it's close enough to still count. The two best 85cc riders in the country right now are Hayden Deegan and his buddy, Daxton Bennick. They're both KTM Orange Brigade riders. They're homies, as Deegan says. They ride and train together a lot at at Bennick's place here in North Carolina. I would presume if Bennick ever goes out west, he's going to ride at Deegan's place. And they have battled 50s, 65s, 85s, they're best buds, and they're usually 1-2 battling for titles. And I've seen them do it in mud, dry, heat, 65s, 85s, whatever. So this year they were squaring off again. I feel like in some years, at least at Loretta's, I don't watch a lot of these other amateur races, but I feel like in the years at Loretta's, maybe Bennick was a little better. But this year it flipped. Deegan was definitely the better of the two. Now, Bennick is huge now. He's like 5'7", 5'8". He's really too big for an 85. That might make the difference. Deegan is the absolute perfect size for an 85 right now. He's kind of short and stocky. And he was quicker. He blew one title with a crash early in his third moto, and then the bike got landed on, and he was done. But generally, when they battled head-to-head in the motos, he was quicker. Bennick was also dealing with arm pump. This is neither here nor there. They're both really good. They've both proven they can win titles in that heart of the order class. They're both going to be really good. But one other thing I'll throw in with Hayden Deegan. You know where he was making up his time? You know where he looked the best? Where he really showed his true talent? Loretta's has these gnarly, rutted corners. And his corner speed and his technique and his style in these tight, rutted turns was second to none. Like second to none of anyone. Now, there are some people saying that the Loretta's track is a little small now and maybe too small for 450s. So there might be something to a mini-cycle rider can rip those corners maybe better than anyone. But I'm telling you, he was better than anyone else in his class, anyone else on an 85. So good in the corners. He's from California. The kid does backflips. He has no business being that good in rutted corners. But guess what? That's what the Deegans do. They figure this stuff out. I don't know what this magical formula that Brian Deegan has is, but he is able to apply himself and now to his kids the proper lessons to figure out the real difference. And we all know, man, jump for show, corner for dough. Hayden Deegan can corner a motorcycle. I talked to his coach now. There's a guy that actually operates a coaching program out of Bennick's place, so Deegan hangs out there. Do you remember Gavin Graysick? Yep. Gavin Graysick's still around. He did some coaching with Deegan. I talked to Gavin about it, and I said, dude, I don't know what you're doing with Deegan in these corners, but he was unbelievable, man. And he's like, you know what? For him, it's clutch work. We worked so hard in the clutch, coming smooth in and out of the corner, not double clutching, not hitching. So to me, knowing that he's 12 years old, he might have turned 13 now. The way the AMA rules work is you just need to be 12 on January 1. Then after that, you can have a birthday. So I think Hayden is 13 now. But to know that all the YouTube videos, backflipping at 10, nope. He focused on clutch work in tight, rutted corners, and that's why he was fast at Loretta's. That really tells me something about that kid's character and the way they apply themselves. And he won a championship in that absolutely coveted division with all those names I ran down. Bennick did also, but Deegan crashed in their third moto showdown there. It doesn't matter. Flip a coin between those two. And they probably won't be battling as amateurs for long because Bennick is huge. And there you go. See, he's probably going to move up to a bigger motorcycle. That's why that 12-year-old 85 thing is the absolute key because that's where you got to race each other. I bet you Bennick's on a bigger bike than Deegan next year, and then they won't battle each other maybe again until they're pros. And that's one other lesson that comes out of Loretta's. Over and over, you hear people try to make these Alessi-Villopoto comparisons. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't create these rivalries between riders as amateurs because everything we've ever seen and heard pretty much will teach you it doesn't ever work out that way as pros. Yeah, for 2 or 3 years down there at Loretta's, I was there. It was, what's Ryan Villopoto going to do? He's ruined. He can't beat Mike Alessi. Mike Alessi has him dialed. He's got him head screwed. There's nothing Villopoto can do. Do you think Ryan Villopoto even knew who Ryan Dungey was at that time? Probably never heard of him. Probably never met him. Probably never made eye contact with him. Who would have thought at that time that the guy that Villopoto was going to have to stay in front of to win all these races and titles was Ryan Dungey? Dungey wasn't even on the radar. In the end, Villopoto didn't even have to worry about Alessi. That's the way this stuff goes all the time. In a previous generation, there's this legendary moto of Jeff Emig and Damon Bradshaw where they both crashed in the first turn together and then came from like last to first, battling each other for a moto win. And Emig said, yep, I knew right there that's the guy I'm going to have to chase my whole life, Damon Bradshaw. Nope. Jeremy McGrath. Again, Jeremy McGrath was a nobody as an amateur. He raced a C-Class. He grew up racing BMX. Ryan Villopoto didn't think he'd have to battle Ryan Dungey for Supercross wins, and neither did Jeff Emig think he'd have to battle Jeremy McGrath for Supercross wins. So as often as we see dudes battling as amateurs and people want to hype it up as this Alessi Villopoto Part 2, dude, Alessi and Millsaps had it. How often do you remember Alessi Millsap's battles as pros? It never worked out. One was really good at Supercross, barely even could stay healthy through the Nationals. The other one could barely stay healthy through Supercross and was battling in front in the Nationals. They hardly ever squared off. So that's the other lesson. You can't read into it too much. All you can do as a rider is develop yourself as best you can and not really worry about who you're racing today as an amateur, because no one's going to remember how it worked that day on a mini cycle or anything like that. You've just got to be your best self and be ready for whoever the heck it is that you're going to race in the long run. And my final example of it here is these teams have worked so hard to plan the future, map it out, pick kids up at age 13, 5-year deals, ready to turn pro, all this talent scouting. And in the end, maybe the hottest amateur prospect in the world now is someone who was not on anyone's radar whatsoever a year ago, and that's Jett Lawrence. He was not on anyone's radar. You can even go and look at the EMX 250 class where he raced in Europe. He wasn't lighting it up there 18 months ago. You're talking about young kids. You never know when it's going to come together. You never know where the talent is going to come from. If Jett Lawrence ends up being as good as I think he could be now, it's going to be crazy, because all this work for all these other riders to find the next best thing and the hottest prospect, and then some kid from Australia was out there who no one knew, and they dug him out of the ground, popped up, and look at the crop we have now. So that's what's cool. They try so hard to homogenize this process to where there aren't any diamonds in the rough and there are no guessing games, and we still end up guessing, and sometimes they guess wrong. But it's not a totally inaccurate science. Remember that 12 to 1385 cc range. Those are pretty sure bets. Let's keep that in mind. All right, that's our podcast from Loretta's. Be sure to check out Yoshimura-RD.com for all the information on their awesome exhaust systems. Don't run them in the stock class, though. Just modified only. And check out the latest issue of Racer X Illustrated. And I got a new one coming. I'm not supposed to tell you about this, but subscribe now. Go to racerxonline.com/subscribe. And then by the time the magazine's in your mailbox, you'll be reading a story about Joe Shimoda, Carson Mumford, and Jett Lawrence and their prospects for the future with Amsoil Honda, Geico Honda. I'm going to be working on that story starting this weekend when they make their debut at Unadilla and beyond. I'll go behind the scenes, well beyond what you're going to find out from the results. Who are these riders? What are they like? That's what I'm working on. And a lot of other cool stuff. EJ's got a really awesome Honda history piece coming your way as well. I'm not supposed to tell you this stuff. This is highly top secret. Whatever. There's hardly any magazines left. What are we worried about? I'll tell you what we're working on right now. That's what we do. And if you want to subscribe for cheap, go to racerxonline.com/99CENTS, 99 cents. To 3 issues, print and digital, for 99 cents. That's ridiculous. That's so cheap that I can't even come up with a thing to compare it to. That's 33 cents an issue. What can I even come up with that costs 33 cents to make a comparison? Nothing. Nothing costs 33 cents except this. So do it. Do it now. That's our podcast. Talk to you next week.